Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together, one frame at a time. Hey guys, I'm Randy Unger in another episode of Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together, one frame at a time. And I have with me a wonderful panel, as always. We have Miss Erica A. Erica, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Randy, glad to be here. It's
Good to
been a
see
long
you.
time, hasn't it? Well, here I am, even though it's about time to reach the new year. Isn't it
Yes.
amazing?
Hey, thank you. Happy New Year, by the way, to everybody on this panel, this wonderful panel tonight. Also with us again, Ivy Lofberg. Welcome back, Ivy.
Hey, great to be here. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. And with us for the first time, Mr. Alan Imperio. Hey, Alan, how's it going?
Going great. Thank you for having me for the first time. Happy New Year to everybody.
Yes. Welcome, guys. Welcome, guys. Happy New Year. This is actually the first episode of 2024. So really special, really happy that you guys can be here for this. And we have a lot to discuss. But first, I just want to mention Mr. Imperial. We met about a year ago, I'd say, at the Kew Garden Cinemas.
That's right.
And it is one of my absolute favorite movie theaters. It's in Queens, in Kew Gardens, and it is a smaller theater. They show mostly art films, indie films, but they're kind of branching out into more mainstream blockbusters. But I really just go there for the smaller stuff, including the film that we're going to be discussing tonight, Poor Things. But I just want to just welcome Alan specifically to the show, and I'm really happy you're here, sir.
Yeah, just a shout out to Garden Cinemas. Everybody on the team is very passionate about movies. So if you want to check out great hidden gems, definitely check them out because they have a wide variety of movies, and I can't recommend them enough.
Yeah.
There is one employee that's very passionate about having theme nights. I know they had theme night for 420 last year.
Oh, really?
With,
Okay. So, well,
I
like
can't.
half baked and all those movies they show.
No, they go a little older. What was that? I can't remember that PSA government movie
Oh,
for weed.
Reefer
Uh,
Madness,
it's-
I think.
Reefer
yeah,
Madness. Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. I had a brain fart.
That was
And that, yeah, and it was so funny to experience it because I've always heard about it, got to see it for the first time, and one of the employees was very passionate about showing that on April 20th. So that's
Very-
just one example. They always do theme days.
Yeah, I love that theater so much because I'm a Queens native. Erica is as well. Alan, I believe
Not my.
you. But we all love Queens, and that is, I mean, as far as I know, the only indie theater or
One
one of
of
the
two.
few. One of the which is the other?
I believe there is one, or at least there was pre-pandemic, like Long Island City area.
Okay. But Kew
But
Gardens
I
is
only
still
every
there.
so often it would pop up, and I'd be like, "Oh, that one." But it's really hard to find.
I know.
Uh,
For
I don't
me,
know if they're still around, but there's definitely another indie theater on Main Street.
No, that
Um,
one's gone, and that one was a
oh
rather
yeah.
main. That was rather mainstreamed. That was my theater of choice. It was $5 every day.
Hmm.
yep, I remember that.
And the floors were always sticky for some reason. It was just
Yes.
ridiculous.
No, I prefer Metropolitan and the Cinemark
Oh, okay, gotcha.
because
Yeah,
then I got Eddie's Sweet Shop right across the way.
that's true. But I think Kew Gardens is a little bit easier to get to with public transportation. It's right off the
True.
even.
There's no bus that goes straight down Metropolitan that direction. They
Yeah.
turn before that.
This is a
Exactly
real
right.
plug. Like we're giving people directions to the theater. But Kew Garden Cinema is so good. Guys, if you haven't checked it out already, please do so. If you're, I'm big on, like Nighthawk and Alamo, but Kew Gardens is right around the corner for me, so it's really convenient. And the ticket prices are actually lower than the typical theater. So just FYI.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
It's $3 more than Cinemark.
is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Cinemark is $9 or $8, depending on the day of the week.
oh my, well, it's kind of difficult to get to if you don't have a car.
True,
But
if you don't live right where I am, right
yeah,
there.
there you go. There you go. But anyway, guys, I love the tangents we go on. But Alan, you'll get used to it.
It's easy to
But
keep up, don't
And
worry.
the first film we're going to be discussing is Poor Things. And this is the latest collaboration between filmmaker Yorgos Lanthimos. I can never remember that name. I had to read it right now. But between Mr. Lanthimos and the great Academy Award-winning actress Emma Stone. Their first film was The Favorite, which we're going to get into after this review. But Poor Things is just a wonderful, strange fantasy, dramedy, romantic adventure about a young girl. I believe it is in Victorian London. Basically, she plays this young woman who commits suicide and is soon resurrected by a Frankenstein-like doctor played by the great Willem Dafoe. And he has resurrected Emma Stone's corpse and is now basically raising her as his own. And it's just hilarious the way her movements, her speech patterns, and how she's kind of evolving and maturing and growing into an actual person. And it is so out there. It's so bizarre. I really need to watch this movie again because I just loved it so much. Right now, it's number one on my top 10 list of the year. And I'm not sure, I don't know if it's going to stay that way, but right now it's very fresh in my mind. It's a very strong film. And I think Emma Stone and Yorgos Lanthimos knocked it out of the park. So Alan, since you are new to the show and you worked at the theater I saw this movie in, what was
Yep.
your take on Poor Things?
I love the filmmaker's choice to blend the cinematography and the plot points to both grow with the character of Emma Stone. From somebody who's a big nerd on technicals, I loved how it went from a 4:3 to widescreen, from black and white to color.
Yeah.
And I love how he used anamorphic lenses to really show the growing and pain points of Emma Stone's character.
I
throughout the
love
film.
the fisheye shots, which they used more of that in The Favorite.
I think
But
it's more fishbowl, not fisheye. That it's
is it fishbowl, not fisheye? Well, you
It depends on the lens. I just know he used anamorphic lenses, and it depends. It's a new type of lens, and I don't have my
Okay.
notes because,
No
but
worries.
but it was a great choice to really highlight those points that make people learn
Right.
and that stick with your memory. And a lot of it was trauma that really happened in those moments, and I thought that was a great choice because it really put you in the hyper realistic moment of those scenes.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the visual style is really great as well. The scenes on that cruise where it looks like it's like in a different planet. I love
Mhm.
that. I love the choice of background for the sky and the water and just everything about that sequence was fantastic. I also want to mention the score by Jerskin Fendrix, who it really mirrored Emma Stone's, like the way she's like, it was like if you could put a sound to the way she's thinking, that would be it. That was perfect. It was like twangy, it was strange, it was off key, and it was just
It was dissonant.
yeah, it just fit her personality so well. So I love the score in this. Erica, what did you think of the film?
I thought the film was brilliant. The cinematography was done really well. Also, the costume design, because I know you gave your description, but I would say it's a period drama and comedy, where it's not quite a period drama. It's not quite, and some scenes goes period comedy, but and it also has the romance like any period piece should. So they create the era of the costume. But one thing kept bothering me. Why does no one look at her funny when she forgets the bottom half of her skirt when she goes outside sometimes? Because everyone else is walking with the full floor length skirt, and there she is, and suddenly her knees are showing, and I'm like, no one looks twice at her and questions it because she doesn't know better.
Right.
But I found the casting well done, and I enjoyed the movie apart from one aspect.
Mm.
The movie, anyone who's as squeamish as I am, the movie is going to freak you out from the very first scene. those scars, that makeup was so intense.
Right.
I was like, can't look. I'm okay, I can look again. And then suddenly we're back to doing doctoring things. And I'm like, no, don't look. Such a brilliant movie that I'm like, put your hands down. But I'm like, now I can't look again.
Yeah, the makeup in question, I believe you're talking about Willem Dafoe.
Yes.
He looked fantastic. I mean,
He looked so realistic.
Yeah.
It was so perfect as they worked it into his plot, and he always talked about the scars. And I'm in the theater sitting there reacting the way he's describing people would act in public.
Mhm.
If he goes out, I'm like, you can't look away, but you can't really look because it just looks so intense and in your face, believable.
It's a little much because and Willem Dafoe's face without makeup is kind of scary in a good way. He doesn't really need much else to elicit such
This
an
built the
effect.
character, in my opinion. That we don't see his face at all. He is faded away into the whole costume and the makeup and
Mhm.
it looks real. It's not computerized. It doesn't look like some sort of pieced together thing. It looks like you really are there.
Yeah, they did a great job for sure.
Oh, Erica, absolutely. I got Dr. Monroe vibes when they showed those chimeras all throughout that
Oh
first scene.
yes,
It
I
it, it
know.
really
It
freaked
was
me
just
out.
I think it might be equal to that of Maestro because I think they did a great job on Bradley Cooper on his portrayal of Leonard Bernstein. The makeup effects in that film were also great. So I'm curious which film. Hopefully, one of the two will get some awards this season. So we'll see.
true. They do deserve it more than some of the others, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
definitely, definitely. Ivy, you're up.
Yeah, I really agree with what everyone's sharing. I really agree with what Alan was sharing about really love. Well, I love the film, and I really love too how the cinematography reflected how she saw the world as she was
Mhm.
growing up. And what I really loved about it too were just like the politics of like really realizing that like the men who are interested in her at these different stages of her life was really incredibly interesting to reflect the way that she saw the world. You know, like she really at that time of her development was still a child and saw the world as this really magical place, you know, in this wild place. And Mark Ruffalo was so incredible as
Yeah.
Duncan, and that he was attracted to that, and he was attracted to someone with a child's mind. And you know, I loved how it showed like as she started to progress, and she really just grew up, and she really just started to form her mind. In his mind, it was like she was a demon, and she was really just developing as a person, and becoming interested in new things. And I love too how that continued to be reflected in how you're watching the movie, and you're really watching this child become a full grown woman. And by the end, you know, she's like sitting in her menagerie and everything is realistic, even though it's this crazy world she
Yeah.
lives in. It's not any fantastical kind of filmmaking. She's just very integrated. Like this is who she is now, and this is her world now, and it reflects by just having, you know, very pretty traditional cinematic filmmaking at that point. And I just thought it was just incredibly brilliant. I thought the politics around around this like very broken man, you know, from his father, kind of not knowing any better than to pass kind of that along. And it's a very deep movie. I feel like it's one of those movies you probably could study in a film class, and just go layer by layer. There's just so much in it. We could probably talk for hours about it.
I know. And yeah, you could really pick apart Lanthimos's films because they're so psychological, they're so deep, there's so many messages flying around.
When you compare too many of them, you can see his style coming through. It's not so much that you can do it, that it starts to overlap. I think that they're stronger alone. I mean, the dance sequence in it, I could see his style so strong in it.
Yeah. I don't
But
know. I mean, it's weird because they all share very similar themes and styles, but
mhm,
each of his films, I've seen a handful of his movies, and while they're all very similar, they're all very different too. I want to go
different
back to,
stories.
yeah, The Lobster and Killing of a Sacred Deer. The lack of emotion is very prevalent and strange. And I actually I read from another critic that his films, particularly those two, I feel, are kind of like you know, aliens from a different planet landing on Earth, and that's how they would act. But with Poor Things and The Favorite, I think the performances, the characters are a little more grounded in reality, even though the story is, you know, bonkers. But yeah, and also Ivy, you made a good point. Yeah, so she is resurrected as basically a child. She's got it's Emma Stone's body with a baby's brain, and it's the way she does it, the way she plays the role is so perfect. It's so funny and kind of heartbreaking, also very disturbing that the doctor's protege wants to marry her, and then soon after, Mark Ruffalo's character wants to court her while she's basically a child. So it's like,
Oh, that really bothered me so much because
yeah.
they dropped the hard R on her. I'm not going to repeat the word, but I thought that was a very bold writing choice. And then 2 minutes, 5 minutes later, he's like, "Oh, I love her," and I'm like, "That's kind of taking advantage of somebody," from
It's
my point of view.
really, it's basically they're like sexual predators. They're molesting this poor girl.
I don't
And
know. I thought the young doctor character was the victim in it all.
oh
He
yeah.
was the person who everyone at school victimized and pointed out, and the doctor, when he's the person who can disappear that no one will notice. And
Hmm.
I can use him like an experiment, just like her, even if his brain works just fine, and I'll test how he reacts to this strange girl who he doesn't even know is actually a small child.
Well,
I,
I also really love too that they were about to get married. I felt like
Oh, yeah,
he
the
yeah.
wedding was
Hmm.
a great scene.
I really love that scene where I felt like the apprentice had grown, and
Mhm.
when she came back, I felt like he really appreciated who she had grown as a person, and he was a self-reflective character a bit. I felt like he saw that his attraction to her wasn't a thing that he should stick with, and he grew to love her as a woman. But I really love too that she also really knew that she had the courage and the strength to explore who she had been as the other woman and really pursue that relationship and really learn about, like, oh, why did um well, basically my mother kill herself.
Mhm.
And then she's like, oh, that's why. And it helped her become a whole person by really having the courage to just go in and explore her life. And I just love that portrayal of a female character as well. That she was like, no, I have the intelligence and the strength and presence of mind to
So,
go back with this man and figure it out and know myself better and
do we
be
know
like
how
a whole
long it took?
person.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we know how long it took her to reach that point, though? Because it's unclear in the movie how many years it's been that
Yeah.
she goes from the small child to the adult. But I loved what you were saying. I was just like, wait, how long does it take her? Does anyone realize?
I
Just
don't
a
think it was ever actually addressed. Like they don't do like 1 year later, or they don't
Yeah, they
really.
never actually say how long.
Yeah, and in the movie, time kind of just it doesn't exist almost. It just passes, but we don't really notice
But
time.
yeah, no, like you were saying, that she just grows as a person. I was like, wait, how long does it take her to do it?
I think
Um,
that's just a choice in filmmaking because
mm,
when you're growing up, your time is irrelevant. I mean, as children, we go, "I'm 5.5,"
mhm.
because that's how we measure time. And then as an adult, it's like 5 years ago seems like yesterday. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a very deliberate choice from the
Mm.
filmmaker, and I thought it was a very good choice because when you're growing, are you really tracking time? Are you tracking moments in your life?
Right. Yeah, because the first like 45 minutes to an hour, she is a child. So there's really no way of gauging how old she is exactly. She's got the body of a 30-year-old, but her brain is like, we don't really know. So that's a very good question, Erica. I'm curious. I need to go back and check it.
Yeah,
Check
because
it.
it's like she starts as an infant and she
Right.
knows how to make things go bang, and she's making a few sounds and words,
Right.
and then she is like an exploring kid, and she goes and leaves the world
Yeah.
still in the body of a 30-year-old. And then, like you said, the whole story of it, and I'm like, wait, but how long does that story take place that she comes back and is fully grown and has lived this whole exciting life?
What
Well,
what did you all think of the other girl that they um were trying to do the same thing with? What did you all think about that? That was really interesting.
oh, the later on in the movie.
Oh,
Well, without giving much away, I'm assuming that's the second half of the film, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that character was strong, good performance. Yeah, I think they could have maybe developed that a little bit more because I think that would have been a very interesting relationship to explore. But honestly, I could see a sequel here. I wouldn't mind to see more of Bella's adventure. You know,
okay.
Erica disagrees with me.
Erica's like, no. Once you make a sequel, you start inserting new characters and you start destroying the canon, and things don't overlap well. And I'm like, but this was such a good movie. I don't know if it needs a sequel.
No, or
Oh,
maybe
there's Godfather too. So
that's true. We're
Uh,
comparing this to The Godfather. Interesting. Okay,
maybe.
cool.
I'm just
full
saying
flame.
not all sequels are bad.
No, this is a fine.
No, some sequels are better than the original.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in the camp of I think this should be a standalone movie
Hmm.
because of the exclamation point that happens at the end, which I thought was a very good choice without going to spoilers. With one of the characters we've already discussed. It's
Yeah.
a very final decision on that character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The movie
And
does
I
wrap things up nicely. But I just want to see more of Bella. I thought she was fascinating. I think Emma Stone is a fantastic actress. I hope she gets a nomination at the Oscars this year. I think she has a nomination at the Golden Globes. But yeah, she knocked it out of the park. This is her show. This is her baby, and I'm really happy that she made this movie. And I'm happy about Yorgos Lanthimos. He's great. We only have a little bit of time, but I just wanted to discuss another collaboration between Yorgos and Emma, and that's a movie that came out in 2018 called The Favorite, which I thought was fantastic. I watched a bunch of the other Yorgos films, and this might be on par with Poor Things, in my opinion. This was just a fantastic movie, and I think it was near perfect. It had fantastic performances from Rachel Weisz uh,
Mm-hmm.
and Olivia Colman. Colman plays the queen of this time period. I think it's 1705 in England, and basically the whole movie is a power struggle between who is the queen's favorite. Is it Emma Stone or is it Rachel Weisz? And you've got your signature Yorgos Lanthimos style, and it's funny, it's scary, it's heartbreaking, and it's just genuine. Like the sets and the costume design alone are fantastic. And real quick, I wanted to see what you guys thought of The Favorite, and specifically compared to Poor Things. What'd you think, Ivy?
Yeah, I really love The Favorite so much. I love that he shows that he can make a very straightforward film. Like the Favorite, the story is very easy to follow. It's a very traditional plot, and it's incredibly strong and a more traditional classic filmmaking. And I really admire a director who's willing to do these really wild experimental films and then do a film that's like, I can also do this and I can do it really well, and I can really make an incredible story that you're not going to forget. And so I really love then that his next film is this wild departure. And he was like just someone who's like really celebrating their range and is really knocking out of the park with that kind of range, I think is really extraordinary. And I think Olivia Colman in it is outstanding. It's worth it just to see her performance is something that I still think about all the time. I would say you would be hard pressed to say that those two films were made by the same person, which I think is pretty incredible. And just considering the quality of both of them. So really love them both.
I know. Just this movie alone, coupled with Poor Things, he is pretty high on my list of favorite working filmmakers right now. You know, I mentioned
Who's your favorite?
my
Yeah, good. You got
nicely
the
done,
joke. I was
nicely
like,
done. That was great. Love it. I also wanted to mention cinematographer Robbie Ryan, who did both films, and it's just so crazy. I now I'm gonna really watch for this DP now, because their eye is really something special. We mentioned the fishbowl, the fisheye. It's very prevalent here in The Favorite, and of course, Poor Things. And I think in Poor Things, we just get a wider scale of sets, set design, camera work, and direction in it. All these elements just come together beautifully. And I really, I am a Yorgos Lanthimos fan. So this man can, at this point, do no wrong. Hopefully, I didn't just jinx it, but but
okay,
uh,
knock on wood.
yes, yes. Alan, what did you think of The Favorite?
I definitely saw the fingerprints of both
Mhm.
Randy and Yagos, because from a
Mm.
technical side, from the nerd side as a filmmaker, I loved how there were deliberate choices in the camera use and the stock use, because when it was a bright sunny day, it looked very clear, and when it had to be dark and menacing, he really chose film that had the grainy texture to it, and I love that the choice in stock was a to match the plot, and you don't get that a lot in today's cinema, where it's like, all right, we're just gonna have a red camera for every shot because we have this camera. And as somebody who's a film nerd, I was so happy that they actually took the time for pre-production to be like, oh, we're gonna choose these shots, we're gonna do these things because it adds to the story. So I'm a big fan.
So with The Favorite, it's like every shot seems like it was so carefully planned and
Mhm.
laid out, and like Yorgos is an artist. He's an auteur. I can't get enough of his style. It's just so cool. But Erica, last but not least, what did you think of the
Oh,
two?
I'm a big fan of The Favorite. Back when it
Mhm.
first came out, and I was so excited for the Academy Award for Best Actress when no one expected her to win. As a cinematographer and movie maker and writer, I could see that, like you said, all the angles, but also I can see so much of The Favorite in Poor Things, at least when I was watching it. As a media
100%.
expert,
Yeah.
I love my period piece dramas. I loved like The White Queen and The Tudors and Versailles, and and this definitely as a movie belongs up there
Mhm.
with telling of Queen Anne. And you have the one family, the Spencers, who are still relevant today, ironically, with
Huh.
Diana Spencer, and then you have the other family that's working their way up into her court. And the whole way he tells the story, the costumes are his own design, but you can also see the period in it. You
Mm.
can see the wigs as everything is changing, and you can see the color, fashion, and the whole movie just still lives up to it today.
Yeah. And movies like this, period pieces, typically are kind of dull, kind of stuffy and
No, they're
boring.
not.
Well, the ones I've seen, but
Okay.
this one it's fresh, it's original, and I have not seen a movie like it ever since. So again, I hope Yorgos continues to deliver quality cinema. And yeah, The Favorite, it's just fantastic. And again, it did take me out of that lobster killing of a sacred deer mindset, where all the characters like just don't really show much emotion and are kind of like doing things just for the sake of doing it, and they don't really have clear objectives, and it's just like very ambiguous. This movie, it's quirky and weird, and it's fun, and it is very well acted. Congratulations on Olivia Colman on her Oscar. She definitely deserved it for this. So that was awesome. So with that said, Poor Things is currently out in theaters, probably at your local art house theater. And yeah, check it out. It's just a good time. It's so different, so out there. And again, Emma Stone, knocks it out of the park. Before you guys go, I wanted to mention real quick, number 2 after the Poor Things on my list of top 10 best movies of 2023, The Holdovers, is now out on Blu-ray, DVD, digital. Check that out. It is a wonderful, wonderful film from the great mind of Alexander Payne, another auteur who I pretty much discovered this year and I'm obsessed with. And he's just a fantastic filmmaker. So The Holdovers is now out on home video, so check that out. And as for plugs, guys, take it away. Alan, you're new. You go first, sir.
Nothing to plug right now, but if anybody's going to MagFest later in January in DC, can't wait to see you there.
Cool. MagFest, what is that
It stands for Music and Gaming Festival. It's a 3-day party at the Gaylord Resorts where gamers come together to celebrate the music of games.
Really?
And it's basically, it's a concert after concert in the main hall. If you want to do VR work, you can. If you want to do LAN, you can. If you want to play classic games, you can. If you want to meet developers who make arcade games, you can.
And is it also like composers of video game scores?
They do have them on occasion as speakers, but you have musicians take those scores and arrange it into quartets, into rock, into ska.
Oh, nice. I wish if they ever did something with the Metal Gear Solid 2 score, because and I think Metal Gear Solid 3, I think they were both done by Harry Gregson Williams, who's an acclaimed Hollywood composer. I would love to be there for that if they played that live, for sure.
It depends on the metal band or the quartet. They definitely, I've definitely heard Power Glove do some covers of Metal Gear Solid.
Cool. I'm gonna look into that. Thank you for sharing that, Alan. Cool. Erica, anything you'd like to plug?
Well, nothing right now. It's that time of the year where I vanish for a few months. So by the time I come back, maybe I'll have some of that publishing stuff. Because as I said, I'm a writer, and besides doing the video and making movies or trying to and writing my own stuff, I have been in touch with someone who wants to publish some of my stuff. But unfortunately, that has to be on hold because it's this time of the year. I'll be busy.
Gotcha. Well, that's exciting, though. We look forward to hearing more about that whenever you can divulge that information. And Ivy, any plugs for you?
I'll just plug my Instagram. It's my name at Ivy Lofberg, and I do something on there called Film Remedy, where I set a theme for the month, and I just post movies that are that theme. And January is joy and inspiration, so I post films that I find represent that theme. So it's a fun follow.
Can we get a sneak peek as the next post?
I haven't decided yet. There's so many.
Okay. That's cool. All right. And as for me, if you want to catch new episodes of Under the Radar, tune in on Slam Radio on SiriusXM every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Also, you can check out video versions of the podcast on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and that is every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. And so check that out. And also feel free to go on to the Under the Radar YouTube channel, subscribe and share. So guys, thank you so much for tonight, for being a part of the first Under the Radar episode of 2024. And hopefully,
Thank you so much, Randy.
Yes,
Yay,
guys.
2024.
We made it.
And many more to come, many more. So I'm Randy Younger. This has been Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together, one frame at a time. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Under the Radar is brought to you by Magnitude Jewelry. Add a 2 to match your attitude. Patent pending, interchange genuine gemstone and crystal EMF protection jewelry. For more information, please visit magnitudejewelry.com/gemgirl or call 718-268-6634.
Hey guys, I'm Randy Unger, and this is a very special edition of Under the Radar, where we talk all things film. And with me tonight, I have a very special guest, actor extraordinaire, Courtney Gaines. You might know him from such classic films as Children of the Corn, Back to the Future, The Burbs, Can't Buy Me Love, and now Queen Bees. Courtney, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I think Under the Radar, that would sum up my career pretty well, I think. So, yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, I think so. I think my career has been very much under the radar in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? But that's nothing wrong with that. But I like it. I like it. It's clever. It's a clever title.
Yeah, and I love your career. So I want to
thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So you have appeared in two of my favorite films, Back to the Future and The Burbs. Tell everybody, what was it like working on those two iconic films?
Sure. No one knew, Back to the Future would be as huge, the trilogy had become as huge as it did. We knew Spielberg was involved, but Robert Zemeckis was not the big director he is now. He was on up and come, but he wasn't, what he is now. So my big thing was I just knew Crispin Glover already, because the first thing I ever did was an AFI film with Crispin, and I love to tell the story because it's funny. And I always forget the name of the title of the project, but you could pick up the whole thing called the Beaver Trilogies. Sean Penn played the same role once. Crispin did, and somebody else well known, and it's still out there to this day, which is crazy. Crispin says it's the best thing he ever did. But so I got to tell the story of that project real quick. So it's my first thing. We're doing Smoking in the Boys' Room. That's what the director says. Just go on, and all of a sudden the bathroom door opens, and it's Crispin Glover dressed like the black outfit of Olivia Newton-John in Grease.
Oh my God, that is horrifying.
And he's like, hey, guys, what's going on? And I thought, this is crazy, but this actor is brilliant. Who is this guy? And so we became friends, and then when I got on Back to the Future, and he came right up to my trailer and was like, hey, so that was great because all my scenes were with him. And so someone I knew. So I felt very comfortable kicking him or doing whatever I had to do because I already knew him, so that made life easy. But, great project to be part of. And we shot that scene, The Enchantment Under the Sea, for probably 3 days. That Robert Zemeckis got it from every possible angle you could conceive of. And because, hey, it's the end of the movie, right? It needs to be done right, and they had the budget to do it right. The other twist on that is that Eric Stoltz was on the project when I first started. So when they did the reshoots and they brought in Michael J. Fox, I was under contract still, so they had to pay me for like 5 weeks for a job that should have been 3 days. So that was a complete financial blessing in my life that, the residuals come to this day. And I'm always just like, thank you for the
awesome.
Back to the Future saved my butt many a time in my life.
Cool. I love to hear that. I love to hear classic stories of that nature, and that your experience on that classic film. It was a special one.
And then we got to talk Burbs, which is behind you with my favorite guy there, Bruce Dern.
Come on.
So the thing that really stands out about that was I didn't realize how fortunate we were to be working. There was a writer's strike during that time that we got just under the radar, and everybody was talking about it, but I was young and I just been working kind of nonstop in the 80s. And I didn't really know any better how lucky I was. But so because of that, literally Universal was a ghost town. There was us and Fletch 2 were the only projects being shot on the entire lot. And we were shooting at night. So we'd go there to be like practically nobody there most of the time. Wow. And so it's pretty wild to have sort of have the whole lot in that famous cul-de-sac we shot on, which is famous. The Munsters was shot on there. Desperate Housewives. The list just goes on and on. So it's so great to be part of that Universal history that we shot on that famous cul-de-sac. But Bruce Dern's my guy because he just really he really took the time to look at the kind of work I was doing and recognized it and came up to me and was like, hey, you're doing good work, Hans. And, he really took me under his wing and gave me confidence that what I was doing was working. And he gave me great career advice. And we recently got to do a movie together called Hellblazer, I guess the end of 2019. It was just great to catch up with him again and just thank him for how kind he was to me, because I was a big fan of his. And so for him to recognize my work at all, still to this day, means a lot to me. So
Was there a lot of rehearsal time, a lot of takes when he has you in that choke?
No, we got that quick. But that famous line, "Hey Pinocchio, where you going?" That was something he improv. Many of the best lines he does in that movie, he improv. He's always doing that. That's his way. But he comes up with great stuff. Like, it's like not like he comes up with duds. It's like he comes up with like, his mind is, working with him this last time. He's 70 years old. His mind is still working twice as fast as mine. I can't keep up with the guy. You know what I mean? He's just riffing. He's just brilliant.
So you would call that a career highlight, working with him?
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, I've got to do it twice now, and that's even greater. But oh yeah, no, he's one of my he's one of my faves. And then obviously Burbs as a whole was a challenge for me, because this character is supposed to be the stranger from a strange land, and everywhere I look, there's like people from my childhood. There's Tom Hanks. I remember him from Bosom Buddies on. You know what I mean? But it's just like everybody was someone I'd seen in movies or television growing up. So that was like the real challenge, was just to let all that go and go, I don't know these people.
That's crazy. And also, I wanted to mention another classic of yours, and actually a movie that I just saw for the first time in preparation for this interview, Children of the Corn, my first time.
Yeah, well, that's the one that started it all. That was my big break. And safe to say, probably the most recognizable character still to this day, and certainly with doing conventions, that's the number one seller. But what I learned in conventions was that The Burbs is a cult classic to people. It's like, it's the people who love that movie. I mean, they love that movie. Like there's people who tell me they see it once a month. There's people who tell me when I'm depressed, that's the movie I watch, or that's the movie my mom watches, and I'm just like, wow, like of all the movies you could possibly watch, that have been in the last, 100 years, this is your movie. This is like your go-to to make you laugh. That's incredible to me. That's just amazing.
It's really great. And you know what? In April, we celebrated Tom Hanks month on the show.
Oh, nice.
The Burbs was definitely actually, we closed out the show, the series with The Burbs.
That's fantastic.
A live commentary for The Burbs. And,
that's fantastic. Well, and all I can say about Tom Hanks is he's the most down to earth A-list actor that I've ever met. I mean, he really is. He's just as Americana and down to earth. He would be talking about the good old days when he was in college or at Sacramento building sets, you know what I mean? Like, he's like that, you know what I mean? He's not like, look at me now. And so he's just not like that. He's just a really down to earth, easy guy to be around, and sets a really great tone on a movie, because he's not acting, he's not divaing anyway. Who else is going to be able to do that, So
have you worked with him since?
No, but I've auditioned for his company Playtone more than once. Just to give you another example of how down to earth he is, I auditioned for what was that miniseries, that war miniseries that they did? The
Pacific?
No, it wasn't Pacific.
Band of Brothers was.
Yeah, Band of Brothers. So I auditioned for Band of Brothers, and typically you come in a room and they have a reader, maybe a casting director. Usually the casting director assistant read with you, and they're not very good as a role. And that's how it goes. The producers all sit in, behind on a couch and, look at you. That's how it goes. Not Tom Hanks. First of all, he had the giant beard. He was filming that the movie where he was on the island. What's the
Castaway?
Yeah, thank you, Castaway. I was like, what's with the huge beard? But he read with us.
Huh.
Like, that's like, I can't tell you how unheard of that is for the star of a project or someone producing the project who's an A-list star. And I'm like, you're going to read with me? And he's like, yeah, it keeps me entertained. It's more fun. And what it does is it just brings the best out of you. You're not going to suck with Tom Hanks. First off, you're not going to suck in front of Tom Hanks. And second off, he's giving you good stuff to work with. So he's getting the best out of you. But I just can't tell you how, that's just so down to earth of him to want to participate with you.
Right.
to act with you. It was just great. So I've auditioned for them several times, and unfortunately, I never booked anything. But I always appreciate they bring me into their office, because they do such good stuff.
Maybe you'll be back for the Burbs too.
That would be crazy, right? There's been, that's one of those things that there's been people out there who've asked for it, but I have no idea what that would be.
Or at least a reboot or something. Bring that movie back. I mean,
yeah, that'd be pretty funny if they did a reboot. That'd be crazy.
But let's flash forward to now.
Sure.
You're in Queen Bees. Tell everybody a little bit about this film.
So the story of Queen Bees is Ellen Bernstein's character goes to a retirement home when she's going to get her house fixed, which then gets destroyed. So then she has to end up living there and finds out it's like high school all over again, except everybody's old. There's cliques and all this stuff. And the guy that wrote it, the producer, that's what he experienced when he put it. His real grandmother went to a retirement home, that it was like high school all over again, which to me is just a terrible thought. I hated high school and would not want to go back, and certainly not want to go back when I'm old. That's not the way I'd want to go out in my later years. So that gives me encouragement to keep my head straight, so I don't have to go to a retirement home. But I just have a cameo in it where I steal Ellen Bernstein's purse and they catch me and the old ladies take me out. But I was really surprised, that it made the trailer, even the 15-second trailer, and it's funny. It's a great little bit, and I guess it was a kind of a lynch point in the movie where the girls bond, But for me, I got the chance to work with, Ellen Bernstein, Anna Margaret, Jane Curtin, and Loretta Devine in a scene, and I wasn't going to pass that up. So that was the first half of the day, I just got to watch them work because my character was basically just watching them in this diner. And it was just great to watch all four of them work in the different styles and different techniques they have. I'm a actor geek. I love different, styles and techniques and how people work. Like Ellen Bernstein, she's from the Actors Studio in New York. She's method all the way. You could see how she'd prepare a moment before the scene, or how, someone like, Jane Curtin, she just has this comic timing that you can't train, from obviously being the original Saturday Night Live veteran, that she is. It's the comic timing is just, it's just impeccable, so it was just so great to get to watch them all work,
Cool. I like that. An actor's geek. That's a great term.
Right, well, especially technique and stuff, whether, what method have you studied? I've studied all the methods, and, like if you watch Robert Duvall, like, in Colors, his death scene, if you know anything about Sanford Meisner technique, he has these 3 lines, but he keeps repeating them as he's dying. The repetitions is an actual exercise in Meisner technique. You saw him put one of his training techniques to work in a brilliant way, but I knew what he was doing. I had a sense of what he was doing because I had studied that technique, so I love to watch how different actors get where they got to go,
Cool. A student of the craft. I love it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And also Christopher Lloyd is in this film as well.
Yes, and so technically we're in movies twice together, but I didn't get to work with him either time. So I've only met him at conventions and things, but we've never had a chance to riff. But I mean, what a comedic genius he is. So great to be in another film with him for sure. And hey, James Caan, right? Can't go wrong with James Caan. I mean, The Godfather. And Brian's song to me is still one of the greatest movie of the weeks to ever be on television. I remember as a kid crying watching that movie. So,
it's a who's who of classic actors here.
Absolutely. So just glad to be just one of the people in that wonderful cast,
And now, even though you had a small role, I'm just curious, what were some challenges you faced on that set?
None. They were all stone cold pros. And Michael Lembeck, the director, I'd worked with him in an acting class. His father, the Harvey Lembeck Comedy Workshop, he was a famous actor from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. He also did this comedy workshop that his daughter Helene and Michael still carry on. So when Michael's not directing, he teaches this. So I worked with him for 2 years before this. So that's when I heard about it. I approached him and he said, "Hey, I got this thing," and I was like, "I'm in, anything, let's do it." So in that way, it was very comfortable. He and I already had shorthand, so it was a good experience all around. Another thing, it was shot in Atlanta in summer and it was hot. That's about all I could say. It was challenging. The heat.
Gotcha. All right, good to know. Good, yeah, that definitely is a challenge, especially today. I don't know how it is by you, but pretty hot here in New York.
Yeah. Now I'm in the southeast now, so we're dealing with some of that crazy weather that's coming right now. But fingers crossed, should be all good. But I got a bunch of other things coming out too, so I might as well talk about them because it's like what's happening is this backlog because of COVID. All of a sudden, they're all coming out bang, bang, bang. So one of them's called Await the Dawn, a little horror film that just came on Amazon Prime this last week. And that's got Dee Wallace and Vernon Wells and myself, and it's worth a look. And then an independent film I did during the pandemic called River that amazingly got picked up and distributed within under a year, which for an independent film, low budget, is just sort of unheard of. So tells you it's got to be decent. And it was beautifully shot by the director, Emily Skye. She also did the DP. She was wonderful using natural light and has a great look to it. And it's like, I call it like a sci-fi thriller because it's not like sci-fi set in space or something. It's about this girl that comes back to her small hometown because her mother mysteriously dies, and then she starts having time losses. And so my character is a family friend, but he's also the local town psychologist who then works with her to help try to figure out what's going on. And it's a cool little project. And so that's coming out July 13th.
Okay.
And then a movie I did even before Queen Bees called Charming the Hearts of Men, also shot in Atlanta or the surrounding areas, is coming out August 13th. And I'm excited about that because it's a pretty cool project. It's set in the 50s. It's about this woman who's a debutante whose father passes. She comes back home, realizes she has the big house, but the dad's broke, and she has to take a job. She takes a job working for my character, Mr. Spratt's Diner. And while she's in the real world now, she realizes, sort of as the civil rights is boiling up, and she allows this sit-in in the restaurant that causes a whole upheaval and things go wrong. And this is actually based on a true story. There's actually a photograph of her in this incident. But she, because she was a debutante and well-connected, she got the governor to add the word women in the civil rights bill. So she had this hand in women's equal rights. So it's loosely based on this true story. I just love doing period pieces, anything set in, anywhere, 50s or Civil War or Westerns. I love all that.
And yes, especially science fiction and horror. What is it about those two genres particularly that appeals to you?
I don't get a lot of sci-fi stuff. I'm not opposed to it, but I don't know if it's because I'm so recognized in the horror genre, because those are the two like heavy fan based genres. And I've had just like weird bad luck too, where I've gotten the job and then it went away, like things just weird. So I haven't done a lot of sci-fi. I'm open to it. It'd be fun. Horror, I mean, it's just obviously because my first film was such a recognizable, iconic character. I just get a lot of offers to do horror gigs, so if I'm available, I'm working, right? And that's and I take, somebody gives me an offer as opposed to having no audition, I value that, I value people wanting to work with me. So I'm not, honestly, I know people ask me, am I a huge horror fan? The answer is no, I'm not. I don't like violence, but horror, especially bad guys, are a hell of a lot of fun because they get to go completely off the rails, they break all the rules, and that's always fun and freeing and liberating. Bad guys are the most fun roles.
Yeah, I can see you as a crooked politician.
That may be coming as I'm aging. I'm starting to age into it. What's happening now is like another. Speaking of horror films, Candy Corn that came out a couple of years ago. I played the sheriff. I ended up helping produce that in the end because they needed some help. But so now I'm getting the sheriffs, I'm getting the psychologist, or I just did a show for BET called Tales. That's an 10 episode anthology. So each show is completely different. And I played a bad cop in that, like one of the leads, like really, really crooked cop. So I'm starting to get some of that stuff as I'm aging into it. So, if you start getting roles in your 50s, I mean, they have to be established people, or why are they there? Right? They have to be like the head of the firm, or or the sheriff of the town. It's like otherwise, if you're this old and you're unestablished, you're just like, you're a loser, right? So you have to be like somebody that's established in this town or environment, somebody who's succeeded. So, I call it guys with ties, basically. I'm getting to the guys with ties. These playing Hans Klopek days are long past, I'm afraid.
Well, I have a feeling he'll return in the future. I really hope he will.
That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious.
Is there a dream role? Is there a role you haven't tackled yet that you'd want to?
Yeah, I'm looking for roles. Honestly, like what would get me jazzed is playing a lead character who's a champion for like the marginalized, the forgotten, the overlooked, that kind of stuff. I'm a sucker for the underdog. That's the kind of hero I'd want to be. And the example of a movie I use is Al Pacino in Justice for All. Not that I'm Al Pacino by any stretch of anyone's imagination. He's Al Pacino. He's Pacino. You don't even have to give his first name.
Right.
And I've never got to work with him, but that would be on the bucket list as well. I would love that chance. But what I love about that character is he's this court-appointed lawyer. He's dealing with all these people who are sort of riffraff by society, trying to help them, but it's just overwhelming. And the judicial system's also crazy. And he has that famous line, I'm out of order, you're out of order, the whole system's out of order. I would love to say something like that one day.
Switching gears a little, I know you have a music career going.
Yeah.
Tell people about that.
Yeah, so I got two things going. There's a solo album out right now called Acoustic Gains Volume 1, and we just put out our third single on Monday called Let It Ride, and that's a very vintage acoustic sounding blues song. So that's one, and that really kind of came out of COVID. I've been talking about doing a solo record for a while. I've been doing music, as my side gig for a long time. I've been in bands and I've been in projects, but I was like, I'm going to do this solo record. So that's happening now. And we're releasing singles, and I also have a band called Ripple Street, and we've put out 3 singles this year as well. And the last one was called Would You, and I would describe that as a Black Sabbath-esque type song, so heavy rock, so very, very different than this acoustic record, which I love that. I love being able to do different things. And the other 2 songs were one that I wrote called The Great Divide, that I just put out right after the whole craziness of the politics we've gone through this last year. Really just to point out my view is making, them trying to, the right and the left trying to say you got to be on this side of the subject. You got to be for the Second Amendment or for gun control. You can't be somewhere in the middle of practicality. You know what I mean? And I think it's hurting this country. So I'm just trying to point that out, that like, you don't have to be all the way on one side or all the way on the other. What we need is common sense solutions that are good for everybody, and then I wrote another one called Slab City about the people who live out in the desert in California that live in this old abandoned airfield base. It's all cement for miles, and it's like they live by their own rules. So I wrote a song about that too. So you can check these things out on YouTube and stuff like that. But you can check any of our music out on Spotify or Amazon or iTunes or Deezer. You can find us.
That's awesome, by the way. Music with a message. I love it.
Sometimes, right? Not everything, but that one, after hearing people just go off the rails for a year, that was my response. I wasn't going to get in a Twitter war with somebody or be a troll, but I had something I wanted to say after that. So for me, art is the way I speak, so.
And speaking of music, I actually wanted to go back to the Burbs a little bit.
Yeah.
Jerry Goldsmith, the late great Jerry Goldsmith, scored that film.
Yeah.
I don't know, it might be a no, but did you have any interaction with Jerry?
No, did not. Like you rarely see the music guys. They're all in the post-production. And what's remarkable is how short a time those guys have to do anything. I don't know how they pull it off and do what they do. Because, once the movie's cut, they get like this 2-week window. They've maybe seen something along the way, trying to come up with some themes, and then they just gotta whip it out, man. They gotta score this whole movie in a couple of weeks. I don't know how these guys do it. It's an amazing feat to me. But where would a movie be without the music? I mean, a score, makes a huge difference in a film, huge.
And especially the score for the Burbs. It's one of my favorites. So great.
Speaking of scores, though, so we're back to Children of the Corn. There's been a reissue of the music for Children of the Corn by a company called 1984. I think it just came out last month. I think that music's really good too. That's that theme you can't forget.
Jerry Goldsmith's The Omen in a way.
Yes, true. True. So, but it's kind of cool if you want to get a vinyl of that. I guess it's out there. So it's still neat that movie's still getting love some way or another.
Nice, awesome to know. So I know you have to go, but
Yes,
how can people see Queen Bees?
Queen Bees is still in theaters. If you better get there quick, I think it's in its 3rd week. And you can certainly get it on VOD, no problem. You right on your TV, it's there to be found. It's on my TV. I can, the order on demand. There it is. So that's pretty cool to see the little advertising for it. So yeah, you can get it on VOD as well, and if you watch it from the comfort of your own home.
Sounds good. Well, Courtney, I want to thank you so much for your wonderful career. You're a legend to me. And
Oh, well, thank you, sir. I really appreciate that.
I want you to keep on going. I want you to play those crooked politicians and sheriffs.
When I get my first crooked politician, I'll think of you, my friend.
Sounds good, man.
You've talked it into existence.
There it is. It's gonna happen, man. All right. Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching and listening tonight. I'm Randy Unger. This has been Under the Radar, and we'll see you next time. Take care.